All right. Welcome to the Open Mind Podcast, or you can say the On Podcast. I'm Sam Jnr, and with me here is
Sela,
Today, we're super excited to have the Godfather himself, as I say. He needs no introduction. He's been a big giant in the Cambodian industry, music industry for almost 20 years plus, right? 2 decades.
Yeah, starting off the founder of Clap Your Hands.
Yeah, Sok Visal.
Sok Visal. Welcome.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, so your actual name is Sok Visal, right?
Yeah, Sok Visal, yeah.
It's your actual name?
Yes.
Wow.
But some may know him as still Cash Rules.
Yeah.
He goes by many.
Okay, so why the name Cash Rules?
Okay, so it's a long story. But
I had no idea.
Real quick. Back in France, when I was doing graffiti, my tag name was Cream. So I used to be spelled Kreem.
Oh.
And I wanted to have Cream, Cream, but it was already taken by this guy.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really claim that. And so when I came back to Cambodia and I started making music, I claimed the Cream, Cream back because of the Wu-Tang song. Cash rules everything around me. So since the end of the 90s, early 2000, people has been calling me on Cream. So Cream, that's how it came from. So
that's how the name came.
Cream has always been my producer's name.
Okay.
My hip hop producer's name. And then I changed it to still Cash Rules in like 2 years ago when I turned 50 and when I decided to DJ. And So
when you turned 50?
Still Cash Rules.
Wow.
I'm 52 now, so.
Wow.
He doesn't look it, right?
He doesn't look 52.
And so Cream became still Cash Rules when I started DJing.
Okay.
But I'm not a DJ. I just started DJing.
You know, people like when I say Sok Visal, a friend of mine is like, "Oh, is it a DJ?" I was like, I don't know him as a DJ. I know him as a sound producer. You know.
Yeah.
So what are the other hidden talents that you have that people that barely knows about Sok Visal?
Oh, I don't know, but I've started I was a graffiti artist.
Yes.
So when I was younger, I started drawing a lot. So I draw a lot. I always created in my mind. I created things with my hands. Yeah. And then I got into graffiti. I wanted to dance, but I don't know, physically I think I wasn't fit when I was younger.
Okay.
But I got into rapping. So I did rap for a few years with my crew.
Okay.
And then I turned graphic designer. So I was an art director for a few years in agencies in Phnom Penh.
Okay.
I was a creative director also in big agencies in Phnom Penh, and then until I quit, I quit agency world, advertising world, and did my own thing. I'm also a film director. So I've directed a lot of music videos. I directed a lot of TVCs. I've directed 3 feature films. I'm also a film producer.
Yeah.
Is this something that everybody knows? Because I'm hearing it for the first time.
I feel
really?
like I feel like
I didn't know you were into movies
it's
too.
It's here and there because I know you have a new film you're working on right now.
I'm working on a lot of different projects right now.
Okay.
I mean, I'm working on 5 new feature films.
Wow.
I'm working on a musical called The Golden Voice, the adaptation from the comic book, the graphic novel. So
wow.
we're adapting it into a live musical, a play.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We call it a musical play.
Yeah.
Because it's too short, too small as a scale to be a musical, so it's a musical play.
Oh my god. And that'll be performed here in Phnom Penh.
Yes, premiering in May, hopefully.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
So we make the announcement at the end of this month, I think.
Okay.
But Monday we're starting the audition and casting calls.
Casting.
Yeah, so
wow.
we will see it.
Wow.
Sok Visal, I feel like he does a lot, and I think he keeps it low key. If you follow his different pages, you might see like little snippets here and there, but he's so humble and just kind of keeps it on the low that like some people you don't know unless you ask.
I also see his story, and he just puts this new symbol. Is it a stump?
Stump. Stump.
Yeah, with the
tell us a little
lightning.
bit about that.
You want me to tell you about
it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's actually, I mean, I think it's okay for the industry, people in the industry to know what it is, and that I'm connected to it. But but in the mainstream, I think we want people to not to associate the two, clap your hands and stomp.
Okay.
But I mean, mostly said, I think the saying, clap your hands and stomp your feet.
Yes.
Clamp your hands and stomp your feet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so brilliant.
Stomp stomp has always been the continuation of Clap Your Hands. So as Clap Your Hands started as a underground label, hip hop label
Yeah.
in the early 2000s. Now, Clap Your Hands is becoming a mainstream music label.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back to doing more underground kind of a music and looking for the sound of the future.
Yeah.
So that's how Stomp comes in.
Okay.
And Stomp is actually the sound of the future. It's trying to sign artists that's doing something different.
Okay.
That music will be the sound of the next 5 or 10 years. It doesn't matter as long as they're doing something different.
Is that still in the realm of hip hop and rap?
Not everything.
Okay.
We actually
really branching out.
planning to sign any kind of artist, visual artist, fashion designer.
Wow, a
or
lot broader.
anybody that's doing something different.
Okay.
And just give them a platform and help them grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know typically a lot of your artists have been Khmer. Are you still focusing on Khmer artists for Stomp as well?
we've actually the first label to sign foreign artists. You know, Siva.
Yes.
Right, you're right. You're right.
We're the first Cambodian label that has foreign artists under our management.
Wow.
So Siva was the first one. It's been 5 years now.
Yes.
We signed a acid jazz band called B Connection.
A jazz band.
Acid jazz.
Acid jazz.
Yeah. And the musicians are all over the place, all over the world actually.
Yeah.
But the leader is based in Belgium.
Okay.
So it's been 2 years now, and we just signed last year. We signed a French singer.
Oh.
His name is Belair that we just recently launched, but not officially yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Do you find with signing international artists here in Cambodia, there's a large fan base in Cambodia, like locally?
No, actually, no. The thing is that I always I have these ideas and vision, and I said, okay, let's do it and see what happens. You know, I don't really
Take
think.
the risk,
I don't do marketing plans. I don't do planning. It's just that for Siva, for example, it's just I saw he came to me. We connected. We did a few tests. And I said, okay, let's work together.
Wow.
And then the next month he was flying to Cambodia, and it's been here 5 years since. But I think back in those days, everybody was looking at me like, "Mom, what the fuck you doing?"
What are you doing? Like,
sorry, can I swear here?
Yeah,
it's fine. It's the open mind.
They were like, everybody's around me, but like, what the fuck you doing, Bong?
Yeah.
You know, they were. I think they were thinking it, but never really told me. But I know, I know.
I see.
But then. Yeah, I think for me, this is the way I've been living and doing things. It's just that when I want to do something, I just do it and see what happens, you know. And I'm after 5 years, I think I'm glad that Siva has been here.
Has been on the record label.
He's building a small fan base, and he's been helping a lot with the labels as well in terms of his knowledge and stuff like that. So, but of course, is that he hasn't reached the level of, I would say, stardom that we are looking for, but it's not too late. I think something will happen.
Yeah.
It is a good investment for the future, yeah?
Yeah, hopefully, you know, but yeah, that's the kind of thing that's the kind of thing I do, you know.
Hope, yeah.
I'm always interested in doing things differently, and that's how, you know, when we started doing hip hop, like 20 years ago, we didn't know really what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And you find out after that, 23 years, fast forward 23 years, and hip hop is actually the biggest draw in Cambodia now.
Yeah.
So the same thing, you know, we've been doing reggae, we've been doing, jazz, we've been doing soul music, R&B.
Like all genres.
So much diversity.
And it's just the same thing. I think it's for us, I mean, for me, it's really about introducing something new to Cambodia and the audience here.
Yeah.
Whether it works or not, I mean, at least I tried.
You tried it.
Yeah, I tried and see how it goes.
But would you say that kind of spirit comes from your experience living in France and moving to the States? Did that influence?
Definitely. I think that first of all, I think I'm from that generation. You know, I was born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s. So I'm from that generation of creative that keeps doing. You know, I think if you see the people from my generation, they did a lot. I mean, we kind of shape the world we're living now visually and graphically, in terms of sound, in terms of, you know, hip hop is everywhere now. I mean, you can see it now. A lot of the hip hop producers are now working for the biggest luxury brands now.
True. Yeah. True. Who are some of your biggest role models of that that you grew up with?
I think in the 80s is mostly film directors, but also music producers. You know, I mean, there's a lot of American directors that are my idol, like Steven Spielberg and Ridley Scott and David Cronenberg, John Carpenter. and so on and so forth. In terms of producers, Pete Rock, what's his name? Primo, DJ Premier. People like that, Dr. Dre, of course, makes some of the dopest beats.
The OG himself,
So I was, I was inspired by these people. So, and these people were making, they were producing nonstop. Yeah. And so when I came to Cambodia, and I guess it's just also the background of Cambodia and how when I came back here 30 years ago, there was not much happening because of the gap that happened during the Khmer Rouge genocide, and the story about how the Khmer Rouge started to kill all the artists and all the intellectuals in the Khmer Rouge between 75 and 79. So I think this is all connected, and it has made me who I am now because of the fact that I felt like this country needed more content, or more things, more, I don't know, and being who I am, being this guy who just loves to make, love to create, and love to produce, I just keep doing it without thinking, whatever. And then again, I think, I feel really lucky every day that I wake up in the morning, I get to do what I love most.
Yeah,
that's very important.
That's it. And I've been doing that now for the past, I would say more than 10 years, because before that I was working for companies and stuff like this. I'm doing my thing on the side, but full time on doing the things that I love. 13 years now, I think.
Now, we'd like to know, let's get a little personal. Tell us about your growing up back in France. You're born in France, right?
Yeah. No, I was born in Cambodia.
You're born in Cambodia, then you moved to France.
Yes,
At what age did you go to France?
I was 4.5, 5 years old, I guess.
Okay, your both parents lived in France, right?
Yeah, we all left Cambodia before the Khmer Rouge took over the country.
Oh, okay. So how was the new environment like? Because 4 years in Cambodia, you're a bit matured, as a young kid. 4 years old, I was like, I know left from right? Yeah. How was it adapting?
No, I think I've done some. I've done some. I went through this midlife crisis like 2 years ago. Reaching 50. It was during the COVID, and also went through a separation during the COVID as well. And this whole thing had me thinking about my past as well, and that's why I'm talking about this now. And I think we lived a very unstable life back in France. I mean, my family started to, they had to start a new life. My father was he was in the military. My mom was a housewife, of course, and when we became refugees in Cambodia, we had to restart a new life. I mean, they had to restart a new life. We were small, me and my brother, and I think they went through a lot of struggle. So they had to learn to speak French. They had to start from the bottom. While I think in Cambodia they had a good kind of a situation
in Cambodia.
So I think my parents were always seeking for better opportunities. And so what I've experienced is we were moving from different places every 1 year, 1 year and a half, 1 year and a half. So I didn't get to really be good at school. So that affected my education as well. And they were always trying to find better opportunities, starting this, starting that, and they went through a lot of failures as well. Wow. My father kind of, I think our mom raised us because my father was, and I think that's my introvert side came from my father, I guess, because he just shut off, I think. I think because of what happened to his country and his family in Cambodia, he couldn't help. He actually wanted to join the resistance in the 70s and 80s, but he has to decide to either go or either stay home and help raise his family.
Important.
Right.
Yeah, but I think he wasn't happy, so he shut off. And so I grew up with that. I grew up with this kind of environment where my mom was raising us. My father was very silent. And there was always a pursuit for happiness, and there was a lot of failure, a lot of things that happened. And then I knew that they never wanted to stay in Cambodia, and they invested a lot of time trying to help Cambodia, trying to come back and all that stuff. So they invested a lot in trying to come back to Cambodia. And that's how 30 years ago, I came back as well, because they came back before me. And
so you were still in France when they came back?
Yeah, they came back earlier than me, like maybe a year or two. And so so that's my upbringing,
Wow.
and this I think it's again this is actually new. That's something that I went through recently for the past 2 or 3 years now.
Wow.
Trying to reflect on why I am the way I am.
Okay.
And
Because
I am
of-
the way I am because of the experience that I was
You've
given
been
by my
through.
experience,
Yeah.
the experience that my parents gave to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the kind of things and everything that I went through also have affected my personal life, my
Okay.
relationship with my partners in the past.
Wow.
When I had to go through this kind of a process
True.
to kind of find myself again.
It's a whole
Yeah.
journey.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a whole journey. So, yeah,
Wow.
and But
Before
yeah.
you came to Cambodia, I know you spent a little time in the U.S.
yeah, 2 years.
Why did you go to the U.S.
I
study?
was sent to the US.
Oh.
If you say Sam, can you
By
explain?
whom?
Like,
Yeah, so
mom was like, I don't want him anymore.
I wasn't good at school, so I started to go to do this. How do you call that? You were learning skills.
Oh yeah,
So I-
vocational
Vocational
training.
stuff,
schools.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had the choice. I could have learned mechanics or whatever, but I'm not a mechanic, man. So I
Yeah.
went to do the easy things. I went to we learned administration, things like that. But at the same time, I was doing a lot of graffiti, and so my brother was already in the gang because we were living in the
France,
housing.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
We
part
were-
in France where you live in?
North side of Paris, Aulnay-sous-Bois, Les 3000. It's a housing project called
Okay.
Les 3000.
Oh, okay.
And so my brother left home when he was 13, so he joined the
Wow.
gang, and I had to be
Wow.
the good boy, so I stayed home. But at the same time, I was doing graffiti.
He was older. He's older.
No, he was younger.
Oh wow.
He was younger?
Yeah, he was younger. My brother was younger.
Wow.
And so because of graffiti, I got arrested a few times, and my mom she started to get a bit nervous about oh shit, my son, my younger son is already doing these
Gang
things,
and,
gang stuff,
the
and
older
now
son.
the older son is getting arrested, even though I wasn't not in the gang.
In the
We
gang,
have
yeah.
a crew, and so after 3 arrests, she said, "Okay, here's a ticket.
That's it.
Here's an air ticket.
Wow.
Go to America and go live with your family."
Okay.
So I went to the States because of that. So for me, America was always a dream. Like I said again,
was like,
I grew
yes,
up in
I
the
got it.
80s. I love American movies. I love American culture, hip hop, and all that stuff. And like it was a dream come true. And it was
Yeah.
really my first trip out of France. I never really took the plane. Before
Never
that.
gone anywhere before.
No, gone anywhere.
How old
no.
were you when you went to the US?
I think I was 19.
Okay.
19, yeah.
Okay.
19.
Oh wow.
And so I flew to America and so moved from a housing project to land in another kind of ghetto, I guess.
Mm,
'Cause
where?
most of my family live in Providence, but they all live in a blue collar kind of a
Providence, Rhode Island?
Yeah, Rhode Island.
Oh okay.
Yeah, so they were all like doing small jobs, in
Okay.
Cambodia, and they were living in this kind of a neighborhood where
Projects
people
and
was
stuff.
gambling and playing, volleyballs and betting cases of beer and living their life, their American dreams.
Did it feel comfortable for you just going into that scene? Because like, oh,
Not really, but it was for me. It was just exciting as an experience for a guy who's
Yeah.
for a 19 years old
True.
kid,
Yeah.
and so it was good, and it was America, it was a dream, For
True.
me, it was a dream. It's just that, I was a bit disappointed because the America that I discovered, that I experienced, wasn't the America that I saw in movies.
Yeah, of course.
Just that.
Right.
that's what other people
Just
say.
that,
yeah.
but it was good. It was good. It was a good experience no matter what because I got to live to experience America, and I got to live with my family who survived the Khmer Rouge.
Whoa.
Yeah, they all survived the Khmer Rouge. I mean,
Nice.
a lot of them, disappeared, but a lot of them also survived the Khmer Rouge, and they were all living in Providence. And I got to hear their stories, because my parents didn't go to the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah, they
had a
left
different
before,
experience.
yeah,
They
okay.
left different, so they have a different experience and different
Right.
trauma. But these guys, my family in the States, they went through
A lot.
horrible things, and I got to hear the stories. And also that's where I spent a lot of time. I got to spend a lot of time with one of my cousins who were listening to Cambodian music, and that's how
That's how you got the Khmer feeling back.
Exactly. So he was playing Rose Resotia, Paindron, every day. I didn't know the name back then, but he was
Right.
playing every day,
Okay.
loud, very loud.
Wow.
And so I got into, I think it was my first experience in, my first
introduction to
Cambodian culture, because
Yeah.
in France I didn't hang out with Cambodian people.
Oh.
In France I was mostly hanging out with black people, Arabic people. A few Asians, Lao, Vietnamese, and Khmer Muslim, but they were mostly French. They didn't really hang out with
hang out with the guys.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about the Cambodian culture. Even though once in a while we join Khmer parties in different parts of France sometime, or we go to the Khmer New Year celebration in Vincennes in Paris.
Okay.
But I didn't really. It wasn't an everyday thing.
Yeah.
So in America for 2 years, I
2
got
years,
to spend time with all my Cambodian relative and started to I kind of speak.
Wow.
I started to speak more Cambodian over there in
Interesting.
America.
Right. Because did you speak English by that time already?
Yeah.
Not really, but I had a basic knowledge of English, but it was easy for me. I think I don't know.
To adapt,
when you're young, you adapt and
Yeah.
you get to. Even though again, I was a very introverted kid, so I didn't have to communicate a lot, but yeah, it was easy for me to kind of navigate over there. Yeah.
So what were you doing there in the US? Doing that vocational training or?
No, I had to kind of reboot a bit. So I did a year in high school. So it was a senior year in high school. I did a senior year in high school at Hope High School in Providence, and then I did a year of community college, majoring in liberal arts, and then I dropped out. It
was like, I'm done.
Not for
I
you.
can't.
No, yeah,
Like,
it's just that back then there was no plan. I didn't want it to work to pay for my studies, and so my parents stopped sending money to pay for the school, and so I say
That's
okay,
it.
I go back to France now.
Okay.
And somehow, some way, I wanted to go back to France. Somehow, I think 2 years was enough for me, and I didn't really see myself staying there because of the environment I was living. I didn't see myself working for in factories like all my cousins or working for these companies. But yeah.
So at that point in your life, did you ever think you're gonna build a career back home in Cambodia?
No, I didn't know. I was still
idea.
lost back then. I was still lost. So I after America, I went to France. I went back to France for a year and a half. So what I did is just work small job. I think small jobs because I had to survive. I had to do something. So I was a security guard for quite a while. For 6-7 months, I was doing security guards in malls and shopping centers and
Interesting.
and then some labor jobs as well. And then one day I got kind of a laid off, and also I think I pushed that because I didn't really want to work. Because at one point I say fuck it, I go back, and then we started hanging out in the staircase of my building with all my homies, all my friends, were smoking weed, drinking beer. Like, what the fuck we gonna do now? And that was end of '92, beginning of '93. Mid of '93 already, and some of them were about to go to the army because there was the army back then was still mandatory. Not mandatory. You had to do it.
You have mandatory.
Yeah. So 18 years old, you gotta go. And so I think So some of them were already there doing that. Some of them was about to leave to kind of move out of the where we were living. So I said, okay, maybe it's time for me to leave to go somewhere and do something else. And that's how I called my parents. They were already in Cambodia. And I said, I'm gonna come to Cambodia because my life is not going anywhere here. Because at the end, I think I'm an artist. Okay. I always been an artist. I didn't see myself working as a labor or security guard or whatever. I wanted to do arts, but then there was no way for me to do what I love.
To do what you love.
Yeah, there was no way there in France. So I just took the tickets and came back to Cambodia in '93, and that's it. Started my life over again.
Listening to your story, right? You always wanted to do something you felt like it relates to what you love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so you went in France. You didn't like the vibe. They moved you to the States for 2 years. You didn't like the vibe. Came back. The small jobs wasn't for you. Yeah. At that time, right? Cambodia was like zero development.
Oh yeah.
Like it was like when you go on the street, people have guns on them. It was a tough time.
Yeah.
How was that feeling when you arrived and you saw all these things? Because I've been to the States. That's a place where I can even make more money and even get a better career. And now I'm in a place where it's like everything's like zero. Didn't you feel disappointed when you came back home?
No, not at all.
It was a total different stuff.
Dude, so you like I said again, going back to my experience in Cambodia, in France, I never really been happy in France. Honestly, the life that we had in France wasn't great.
Okay.
And then my experience of going to the States, my 2 years in the States, just the fact of taking a plane and doing this long ass flight to America and come back, and the experience of exploring, discovering this new culture got me. I wanted to travel. I wanted to discover the world at that point. So after a year in France doing these small jobs, I got sick and tired, and I think it was easy for me to say, fuck it, let's leave this place and go somewhere that I don't know.
Find something new. Yeah.
So I wanted to explore. So I still had this kind of I wanted to explore the world. I wanted to discuss it, and most of what I wanted to know, why the fuck my parents invested so much in Cambodia, and kind of not put us on the side a bit, but it was a bit like that. They invested a lot in trying to come back to Cambodia, and I wanted to understand that why Cambodia, what is worth it, and I wanted to see from my eyes why did they love so much the country and everything, and they kind of sacrifice a lot of family life because of that.
Yeah.
And I understand now. I mean, now at 50, I don't blame them for whatever happened. Yeah. I understand what they went through. But back when I was younger, I had a lot of anger issues, and I was rebelling because of, why? We could have become, we could have had a better life in France. But they never want to stay there.
Yeah, when you say they invested more trying to come back to Cambodia, were they ever stopped from coming back home? Or
yes, you couldn't come back. At one point, you couldn't come back because there was still a civil war here. So having the status of refugees in France, you cannot go back until you cannot go back. You couldn't have a passport, a visa to go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the reason why.
So when in 92, 91, I think they signed the Paris Peace Accord.
Yeah.
So after that, Cambodian could return to Cambodia. So my parents started coming back, around 91, 92. But they couldn't come back. So I came back in 93, and so, again, took this longest flight to Asia that I never been to Asia.
Yeah. It's like so
all
different.
I know from Asia is whatever French media was showing me, of Asia.
Which is so bad.
Which is not Cambodia. They do not show
Asia,
Cambodia, right?
actually Asia, because they always show you the backward side of whatever that side of the world, or even Africa is the same thing. So my first experience is like I had to go through Singapore before you go to Cambodia.
Whoa!
Imagine, I don't even know what Singapore is. I've never been there, I never heard of it. Wow. I go to Singapore, I land at Changi Airport, I look at the airport, I'm like, fuck, what the fuck is that?
Even back then, it was really nice.
Of course. It was. Man, I mean, Singapore is still even in the 90s was still one of the most modern cities in Asia.
Yes, exactly.
And I started to. I stayed there. I think I transited for. I stayed one night. I think I did one overnight in Singapore because I wanted to see.
Not a bad airport to have
exactly.
No, but I stayed in a hotel, so I went out.
You went out,
and I explored a bit for a day and a half or 2 days. I forgot, but I was blown away by Singapore, and I couldn't believe that this was Asia.
Yeah,
because everything was so modern, and I think people back then was already using some cell phones back then. Some not. So I was like, wow. So I did that. That changed everything for me. Like the view of the world changed from that point onward. I couldn't believe what I was seeing on TV anymore. So I had to travel and discover and see by myself. And then after Singapore, I came to Cambodia and arrived in Cambodia, landed in Cambodia, and then I saw it. I saw Cambodia, and whatever I was seeing back then is actually almost what I expected. So a country, post-war country, the dust, the dirt, the building, half destroyed, whatever, the road fucked up, everything is just a mess. It was
the remains of all the war.
Yeah, it's like a mess. It was a mess. It was a mess everywhere. It's like, and bikes and motorcycles, and the only cars you see was the cars of UN, the UN, all the white cars. Mm-hmm. And but nevertheless, I just felt at home.
Wow! Immediately when you came.
Immediately, I just my ride. I mean, I think my parents came to pick me up. My parents came to pick me up, and through the ride from the airport to the city center, I was like looking left and right and just taking in everything. And I'm like, I see my people. I was seeing my people, and I see the state of the country, and I see the state of the people and how they were. Kind of back to life, back to the dead, from the dead, and
you felt more alive.
Yeah, and also I think the fact that the weather, the palm tree, the coconut tree, I was like, oh shit, man, there's a paradise here somehow, somewhere,
Interesting.
Mostly when you live in a housing project in the cold in France, you dream about blue skies and palm trees and coconut trees.
And warm weather. And
warm weather. And I had that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here to stay.
Yeah.
So when you go, now you're in Cambodia, right? You're taking everything, like you love the environment, you love the culture, what's going on, like it's like a new paradise for you, right?
Yeah.
What was the first thing that you did in terms of career? Did you straight ahead go into music, or
No.
What did you do?
Yeah, there was no way. There was no way for me to get back into culture and arts, and I didn't know what to do there. But I knew that my parents were in the government. My father actually went back to doing military stuff.
Oh, okay.
Worked for the government in the army and stuff. So I didn't know what to do. He proposed me, hey, why don't you join the army? I said, oh, why not?
Wow.
You went in the army?
Yeah, I went in the army. I was in the army for 2 years.
Wow.
And
how was that? Because like you grew up in France most of your life, and then you joined the military in Cambodia.
I think mentally you were prepared because you were a strong kid.
But even like the language, that must have been hard.
I think
Sure.
what I wanted to do first and foremost is I wanted to become Cambodian.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel like, because I got sick and tired of going to all these markets and going to these places and people looking at me like I'm an alien,
Yeah, true.
because I'm kind of tall. And imagine back then that people didn't see a lot of people like that.
Not a lot of foreigners.
So they always treat me like a foreigner or like, naked chon, whatever. So, like everybody else, you get a bit like mad, So, but at the same time, I understood,
Exactly.
you cannot get mad. People will see you like this, and there's no way until you change yourself. So
Exactly.
my goal when I arrive is like, okay, now I have to become Cambodian. I have to learn the language. I have to learn the customs. I have to learn the culture. I have to learn the way of life. And coming from a housing project, I'm so easygoing. It's like, when you live in a housing project for 10, 12 years, you can eat
You can
anything.
stay
You can sleep
everything.
anywhere. You don't care. You just go with the flow, and you don't mind things, And
Sure.
and me, I was excited about. I mean, I was already excited about exploring this new world.
Exactly.
And so, I started. So taking the job in the military, in the army, was good. And don't get me wrong, I didn't go fight. I was in the
you're not on the war
administration.
front. Okay.
Yeah. I was in the administration. I was working for the Department of Foreign Relations.
Okay.
So I was kind of helping translate from English to
French.
Khmer, French to
French.
whatever, and receiving delegation from army delegation from Indonesia, Malaysia, China, sometimes France. And
Oh, that was a big
American.
position,
That was
eh?
back in. That's not a big position. I was still like almost like
Okay.
an assistant secretary
Yeah.
or something
Oh,
like
I
that.
see, I
So,
see.
but it was a good expense. It was a good expense, and I was doing that. But my pay was very low. I think, the army government back then, it was about $16 per month.
16
16. Yeah.
$16 a month.
Yeah,
a month.
that was back then. 16 or 20, I forgot.
Oh, okay.
It's changed
And
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, so at night, I found this job at this French institute. It was called the Alliance Française back in those days. And
Yes, still, yeah.
Yeah, they still have it.
and so I got this teaching job, So between 93 until all the way up to 2001, that's how I started a new career. So I working for the army for 2 years, then hang out with a few guys, and I started working for these small companies, and I got to work for Total, this petroleum company, the French petroleum company. So I worked with them at the beginning, and I helped set up. I mean, I was in the technical side, which I was never technical, but somehow, some way, back in those days, you had all these opportunities.
Yeah.
And so we built with Total. I was working in trying to set up all these gas stations around Cambodia, and mostly all the equipment. So I was in charge of building, bringing equipment and making sure people install it right, So I did that, and at one point I became the advertising and promotion manager for Total for almost 4 years, and I did all the marketing for them. I did all the advertising, and I never been to school for that.
Wow.
It's just that one of my boss noticed that I had some creative side.
Yeah.
Some and he said, okay, Visal, you got some creative side. Why don't you just take care of the marketing
and everything.
the branding of Total in Cambodia? And that's what I did. That's how I got to do my first arm into my first experience into marketing and advertising, promotions, and sponsorship stuff back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I did, we did motocross events, we did go-karting events and championship. We did the first loyalty card. We did the first, lucky draw in all the stations. You pump, loyalty card. I did everything, man. I did everything back in the 90s.
So then when did the music come along for you in Cambodia?
End of the 90s. In the 90s.
90s,
So
okay.
after Total, I left Total. I worked for Nestle for a few months. I didn't like it, and actually I quit. It wasn't for me. It was too much marketing and sales. It's not my thing.
Too much
and
trouble.
I worked for Monument Books for 2 years.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Yeah.
Monument Books. I just went there. I bought
So
books there.
I was a general manager. It's like manager of Monument Book for 2 years, and then so. Every under the months you do an inventory and you count the number of magazine that wasn't sold. And sometimes the magazine that unsold magazine you can take it home. So one day I took this magazine. It was a computer PC game, PC something magazine, and there was a free software that's there was music producing software.
Yeah.
It was trial CDs.
Wow.
And I took that home, and it was Acid Pro and SoundForge on it.
I remember they
put
used
that.
to
I
put
popped
that in
it.
the
Yeah,
magazine.
I put that on my computer, and I was like, okay, you can sample Khmer songs. So I started. I can sample Khmer song with SoundForge, and then you can export it on Acid Pro, and Acid Pro would put every BPM automatically together. So you put a beat, you put a sample, and it could automatically put everything in sync.
Yeah.
Do like a
And
master
this is
track.
how I discover. It's like for me, it was the holy grail.
Wow.
That's it. My dream was also to sample Khmer song and to do hip hop beats, but I didn't know how to do that because I never really
Get
been
opportunity,
to film
yeah.
schools. Yeah. So when I discovered the city, that's it. And from that point, I think it's 2000. It was in 2001. I think 2001. Was it 2001? Yeah, 2001.
Okay.
I started making my first Khmer sampled hip hop beat. Then and that's it.
Was that independently, or did you have a mentor in the music industry?
No, nobody.
It was just
There's
yourself.
no industry.
Did you ever end up having a mentor? You kind of just did it.
Everything by my, I'm pretty how you call that autodidact.
Yeah.
Lone wolf.
Lone wolf. walk alone,
I know
yeah.
I learned a lot of the things by myself mostly. So, and mostly when I'm passionate about something, I get to learn things really fast.
Yeah.
And I get to study and to spend my whole night just trying to study
Trying
how
to study
things work when I'm
how
passionate.
things work.
So I did that.
I'm curious, like in terms of when you started sampling the old Khmer music and stuff, I know there's a lot of difficulties in trying to get rights and usage of that and stuff.
We didn't get
By
back
then it was
No,
like
Back then
no.
it was.
you can get a free
I
pass.
just did it, and there was no. First of all, nobody cares. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
So it was something new here in Cambodia, and there was no distribution, there was no marketing, there was nothing. So I was just doing it for fun and for my pleasure.
Your own pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Until but I forgot at the same time. Back in those days, me and a friend DJ Sok, we started already promoting hip hop in Cambodia back in the end of the 90s. He was the one. He actually was the one who started playing hip hop on the radio.
Oh,
Cambodia, DJ
okay.
Sok.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's the one who actually put the word DJ in Cambodia.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why, so he started doing that. He started doing parties. I helped them, put together, design some of the flyers. And,
Wow.
I was involved. I was almost became a DJ, but I didn't want to do it because I was still an introvert. So I'm not really good at, doing
The
so. But
crowd
he's
and
good.
stuff.
Yeah, he was really good. So, but then when he started his first label, the Plumping Bad Boys, he had a few rappers, young rappers with him, but they were all rapping on industry beats, the beats of Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, or whatever. And then when I started making my own beat, I said, "Yo, give me your vocals," and I mixed them with my beats, and that's how it started.
The Khmer, the Khmer inspired beats and stuff.
But before you went into music, you always had a passion of doing movies, right?
My honestly,
Your passion
what?
was-
and my dream, my real dream was to make movie. I never wanted to make music or have a music
Wow.
label. Never. It's never crossed my mind to have a music label or to make music.
So then what sparked it? What started Clap Your Hands?
That thing, that CD
That
CD that I found on this PC, that trial CD
Yeah.
software, and the fact that I started making beats and just became passionate about music. I just wanted to, oh man, I can sample all this Khmer song. And also the thing is that, you know, in hip hop, through hip hop, through rap song, I got to travel back in times. And I'm a big soul music fan. Exactly. And I got to, soul music is my thing, you know, and soul music is actually the beginning of everything that you hear now of hip hop, R&B, and all stuff. So hip hop made me travel back in time and to discover the original songs behind those hip hop songs.
Okay.
And so the process of doing this, sampling Khmer song from the 60s, 70s, was also part of that. I wanted the kids to discover that, hey man, we had great music back in the 60s, 70s. You know, you guys are listening to, you know, remakes of Chinese song or remake of English song or whatever back in those days. I mean, back then there was no industry. It was mostly the karaoke industry. Right. So all the production house were all karaoke. They were doing karaoke music, and there was no label making original music. So for me, like, hey, I want to bring back those songs. And so we started, I started mixing all this old song with hip hop and having these artists on the vocals and we have Khmer hip hop, real Khmer hip hop with real Khmer sound.
Yeah.
And
do you remember your first artist you signed on your record label?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
I asked that.
Yeah, it's a ping, and we actually when I founded Clap Your Hands, it was actually 2005. Okay. And me and a ping worked in the same agency. He was a junior copywriter. Okay. I was a junior art director and / creative director back then in Bates, a company called Bates. It's an advertising agency. Okay. But we had a lot of big clients. And yeah, I knew Aping for a long time because he was part of the DJ Soap entourage, and I think one day you should definitely
have him on.
DJ Soap. You gotta get him on.
DJ Soap. Okay.
He's gotta tell you the story. He's the original Godfather. He's just that at one point he stopped, and I took over and did it longer because he went through some problems. He can tell you that if he wants to. Okay. So yeah. So Aping used to be in his entourage, and me and him working together, and he was our first artist. And Aping, 2005, and after that, from the mixtape that we released, a lot of people started
recognizing Clap Your Hands.
Revolve around us.
Because I know Clap Your Hands is one of the pioneers. Record labels in the hip hop game in Cambodia, and actually, you guys have really made a big difference in Cambodian music industry, right? So fast forward, you've had a lot of artists come in and out, right? For a moment, you had the opportunity to work with the famous rapper Vanda, right? How did you guys meet?
No, actually, I've never had the opportunity to work with Vanda, but some of my crew told me that at one point he wanted to join Clap Your Hands, but I'm not sure. I cannot verify it. Maybe one day you can.
Yeah,
you can
because
ask him.
there's a story that I heard, which is like instead of signing Vanda, you signed another hip hop artist, right? So it's like Vanda. At that time, you didn't really look at him.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's the same thing. Even G David, it was the same thing. G David. I think there's no doubt that a lot of those artists back in between 2005 and 2010, 13, 15, at one point wanted to join Clap Your Hands.
Because
that's
it was
for
the
sure.
big thing.
You were the biggest
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt for that. It's just that for me, I didn't pay attention to some of them, and not because they were not talented. It's just that we never really crossed paths. And maybe we never clicked, and maybe when I look at them or I listen to whatever
you didn't get the vibe.
I didn't get the vibe right, So I'm not sure. So these have to be from 2005, from the time I founded the label, all the way up to I would say maybe 5, 6 years ago. Okay. I've managed a label almost by myself. By myself doing everything, but I was mostly focusing on making the music. So there was no marketing, there was no artist management, there was no real team. But the thing is that because my film company and Clap Your Hands, we were always the same entity, and we were always a lot of the crew who used to work for the film company that was actually paying the bills.
So you had a film company, right?
I have I have 3 companies.
Okay.
I have Clap Your Hands, which is a music label, 802 Film, which is the film company,
Okay.
and Mekong Movies, which is what we call the line producing
Agency.
company.
Okay.
So line producing is like if there's a international production coming to Cambodia, we can assist them and support
To make
them
them easy,
in the production.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
So the crew from my film company also sometimes help with Clap Your Hands, and they help shooting music videos and all that stuff.
Sure.
But there was no real structure. It was mostly me doing most of the job, from music producing to mixing, mastering, and managing the artist and solving problems. And sometimes I have the support of my crew to just help, with the music videos and some of the things. And we only started to have a real team like maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Wow.
Maybe.
And I love seeing like all of the artists now kind of collaborating together. I feel like it seemed, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, it was very separate before. Like not all of the rappers and music artists were like, there was nothing that kind of brought them all together because they were under their separate labels, right?
Exactly.
No, even though none of them were labels in the past, except Wutir. Wutir was in this collective, but a lot of them were all individuals. They all have different stories, and we actually went through. Clap Your Hands went through like maybe 3 or 4 generations of artists already.
Yeah.
And the current one are the one that I think most of them signed. Signed like these are the last. It's not even the last generation, but most of them joined Clap Your Hands in 2017. So V2, Wutir, Vijet. They joined back in those days, and Rutko joined in 2018, I think, 18, 19. Sela was a long time ago. And none of them. The thing is, for me, is like I love to discover new talents, and I love to discover people who's not known, and then sign them, and then develop them and help them, give them a career and give them some exposure. That's what excites me.
That's what excites
Yeah, I'm not really into signing people who are already famous, and it's not something that I do.
Bring them from nobody.
Yeah,
to,
exactly. That's
wow.
what I
But what would
prefer.
you say is the big hindrance for Clap Your Hands not becoming a mainstream record label?
Hindrance? What do you
Let's say, what is
What's the
stopping?
biggest barrier?
What's the barrier that Clap Your Hands is still has not yet crossed that level to be like a mainstream recording label? Because yes, everybody knows Clap Your Hands, but still you need to cross that line.
Yeah.
What would you say is the thing stopping you?
There's a few things. First of all, I think like I said, I never really wanted to have a music label. It became organic and naturally, I had to turn it into a music label 10 years ago. That's the thing. The second thing is that I've been operating the label by myself for quite a long time, even though I had support from people that works in the film industry with me. I also had my ex-partner also help me with a lot of the production of the music video. But in terms of making the music, the branding, the managing the artist, it was always me doing it by myself. And until recently, until like 5-6 years ago now, I have a whole team helping me. But the problem with Clap Your Hands is that, first of all, I think for many years we were the only one producing original music and in hip hop in Cambodia, and then we were focusing on the music more than anything else. We didn't have a marketing department. We don't have a sales department. Yeah. We're not really focused on that. So we were really focused on making music. Yeah. So we focus on music. So that's the reason why we never branded our artists. We never launched our artists. And that's why a lot of people know our song, but they don't know the artist for many years.
Yeah. Sure.
And we only started recently, maybe like 5-6 years ago, to change that model, to change our business model, because there wasn't really a business model before. Honestly, it was just me and us, putting music out there and trying to inspire the Cambodia youth with our music. But at one point we had to to change the how we work and how we operate, and that's how. And the reason why I think during COVID, during COVID, and even before a bit before COVID, we yeah, we didn't plan to have all these label coming up, all these artists coming up, and all that stuff that took over the market and the audience, and which is good. I think that the goal of having competition is to create a real industry and a real market, which is great, you know. So it's fine. It's fine. It's just that I felt overwhelmed by this, and we were not prepared for that. And mostly during the COVID, it was hard to move because of everything that happened. You know, the business side was bad, and it was very difficult for a lot of people, for our industry, so not only us. So it was really hard for us to kind of move forward and to push because of that. But we slowly did that, and we slowly pushed the process of trying to change our business model and focus on the marketing, focus on the branding of our artists, focus on everything, the image as well. I mean, even the image of our artists back in, you know, it wasn't the great. You know, when you see how Vanda came in and the other artists came in, they all look slick and nice and properly. You know, we were still like, hey, you know, we were. The other problem is that we manage so many artists. And we have little resources. I mean, you know, the team is small, it's not a big team, so we had to kind of divide our resources and our time for everybody and try to make sure everybody gets their own, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it's I think it's just part of the for me it's just part of the history of Clap Your Hands. It's just that we have to go through that kind of a learning curve and that those challenges in order for us to kind of reboot, restart, and become something new right now. And that's what we're going through now. And we had this COVID thing that kind of slowed us down as well, and we had also issues and stuff internally because of so many things. You know, I think no matter what, we can say that, you know, everybody has perception all this label is successful.
I understand.
But I think every label, every collective have their own issues and challenges internally. Sure, 100%.
But regardless,
you can say it. I think whatever we've been through the past few years is part of the history of Clap Your Hands. You can't. Life is a cycle.
True.
Life is how you get a wheel. It turns. You know, one day you're on top, one day you're at the bottom, one day you're on top. So it keeps turning, and everybody's going to go through that. No matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, you will through that, and it's normal. So when you know it's going to be like that, you know,
you don't worry that much.
Yeah, exactly. We don't worry much, but we just pivot, plan, change our strategy, and adapt and evolve. And I think that's evolving is the solution. Evolving is always the thing that I keep in mind. You know, you cannot, in order for us to stay in the, how you call it? You stay
relevant.
Yeah, okay.
To stay relevant, you got to learn to adapt. You have to learn to see.
Try to be dynamic in what you're doing.
And always you cannot sleep. You know, because you know, just because you're on top, you cannot sleep. You got to think about your next move for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, and how you're gonna reinvent yourself, rebrand yourself, or whatever. And so this is the process you
have to go through.
Yeah, we have.
It's good you have this idea, right? Before we let you go, right? We'd like to know Cambodia music industry, right? How well or what should they do that they can really sell themselves internationally? Because it's like, it's just one person doing it, and there's thousands of other artists in Cambodia, right? You own a record label, you are like in the heart of the music industry. How or what kind of mechanism can Cambodia music industry operate that can really sell them internationally?
It's a really tough question. I think it's very new for everybody. I mean, again, when I started a label, nobody gave me a manual saying this is how you run a label. You know, you have to learn.
People are using your menu. People are using you're like, oh, Sok Visal did it. Like,
for sure.
Raxi Mechi, or like, can you advise me? What should I do? You know, it's like that.
Yeah, but in terms of marketing a Cambodian artist or globally, it's not something that we've done before. I think again. And I guess every label is going through that. We're trying to learn how to operate and how to navigate. You know, nobody give any of us, you know, a manual saying that this is how you do this and this is how you run the label, this is how you market an artist. I think everybody's, and I think the younger people, I think the younger generation, because are better at doing marketing because everything go through digital, and that's their era,
That's the
not
era
my
now.
era, for example.
True.
And that's why we give the job to the younger generation to handle that, the whole marketing thing. So for me, there's no
There's no manual.
there's no man. The only thing for me is that you gotta stay fresh. I think
Yeah.
you gotta stay fresh all the time.
Be relevant every time.
Relevant every time. You gotta introduce new sound all the time. You gotta be ahead of your game in terms of
Exactly.
sound, image, and visuals. And that's a solution. If you wanna, I mean, you know, I think compared to a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna say. It's gonna sound like I'm bragging, but anyway, we've been operating for so long that a lot of people around the world know who we are and,
Yeah.
and our job and our work in Cambodia.
True.
And so we also somehow a lot of our music
Internationally.
went overseas.
It is
went
international,
to Europe,
yes,
went
yeah.
to America for the longest time.
Yeah.
We were the first one to also do collaboration with independent artists around the world.
True.
And so for me, it's always because, these guys are doing something different.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys are doing something fresh for Cambodia. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't know that they had this in Cambodia.
That's how you stay relevant every time.
And so what we've been doing now that we're planning for the next 20, 30 years of Clap Your Hands and even planning Clap Your Hands 2.0 is that we're looking at the sound of the future.
Yeah.
And we're trying to be, let's face it, guys, we've been making hip hop for 20,
30
23 years. Now it's like hip hop is everywhere.
True.
I think we want to not move away from that. We want to keep doing hip hop, but
just
we want to do it in a
expand.
different way.
Make it more lively.
We're gonna do hip hop in a very different way. We're gonna find ways to do whatever. I'm actually telling you all my plans here now.
That's
good. No, but there's so much more other genre of music that people need to hear.
Yeah.
There's so much things that we try to bring back more soul into our music. More meanings and more more
life.
more vibrations and
Okay.
positive vibrations and energy into our music and so it's so much more stuff that we could do and we want to still be the most innovative music label of Cambodia.
Yeah.
We still want to introduce new sound to Cambodia. We want to go into these different
dimension of music.
And to be,
Interesting.
even though we won't have the 1 million listeners, we don't care. I mean, we never cared about that. We always just put out the music you like to do, man.
Yeah.
They're always the same thing. The order is just make the music that you love. Just do it. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you don't have those 1,000 million views. You get,
Put it out there.
3,000, 5,000 every day is good, man. Just be
I
happy.
like that
Just,
kind of,
and this is what, this is this is what we should do. I mean, I understand that, and that's why Clap Your Hands is going to become mainstream because yes, we need to do business.
Yeah.
I mean, in order to, we now reaching a phase in the history of Cambodian music industry that we're into the show business.
Yeah.
Now the
Right.
show business is starting now. This isn't about business, but
Sure.
show as well. Now it's time to make some money. The artist needs to get paid. He needs
Yeah.
to get a proper lifestyle, but also, we need to be able to earn money to create better arts, better visuals, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we have that in mind for sure. But again, I think the arts will always be a bit on top of the money for us, always.
I love that.
I love that. So on that note, what's your final words to your fans, the Gen Z looking at you? Because you're an OG. Yeah? What will be your final words for them, and what should they expect from you?
I don't know. Just saying. Yeah. I mean, I guess for the past 23 years, we made you clap your hands. And the next 23 years, we're going to make you stomp your feet.
Okay, all right. On that note, it's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much, Bong
Bong.
Visal.
My